I haven't got that camera in place. Should be okay now. Better? Good. Welcome, everyone. So let me just swap this about. You don't really. There we are. Sarah, can you hear me now, my darling? I'd forgotten that with the face cam, I have no sound on that because I've got it linked to my USB. So could you just confirm to me that all is now well in the world? Good evening, Carol. Hi, Jan. I'm just waiting for someone to confirm that they can now hear me. Hopefully. Oh, right. Now then, we have a project. It's quite a big project. It's not very complicated. Good evening, Connie. Hi, Juliana. But there's a good few steps. So I'm not going to promise we're not going to be here for a little while today because we might just be. Let me just move some of this kit and caboodle out of the way. And thank you, darling. Let's swap this one round and have the big screen. Hey, I like it when a plan comes together. So let's just lift some of this lot off here out of harm's way because we don't quite need that at the moment. I've got more stuff. I've got more stuff out here than I think I need to know what to do with. Where's that gone? I did have a lighter on my desk for reasons that will become clear later. Oh, there it is. Excellent. So I now know where my lighter is. So that's always good. A lighter, I hear you say. Why would you want a lighter? So let's just pop that over there. So I just have a box. There we are. Big box, and I have primed it already with the acrylic primer in white, and we've got several steps to do for this tonight, so we might be a little while because the projects have to be completed. So I am going to use the Country Green Lasur gel because it's a soft colour and I think it will work quite nicely for this project, and it will act as a wood stain which will be nice on the inside of the box. Doesn't have to be too uber complicated on the inside, but we like a project that we can finish from start to finish. We don't necessarily want the green on there, but we can sort that out later on. There we are. So let's just give this. So I'm just using in effect a wood stain. You could use whatever you wanted. Doesn't have to be a wood stain. It could just be, I'm just grabbing a wipe from behind me because my chair is now fully occupied. There we are. Let's just get that, as much of that off there as we can. Pop that there. It could just as easily be a layer of paint, just chosen to coordinate with the project. So there we are. We've got a few steps of drying today, and there's nothing I can do about that. So let's just give this all a good let. You can do this on a non-wooden box, but the beauty of the Lasur gels is that they will show the wood grain through, which is why I have chosen to use them. If I was doing on a cardboard box, then I might well paint the surface white first and then just paint with a Lasur gel for some colour over the top. But as I say, the whole purpose of using the Lasurs is that they act almost like a glaze on the wood. There we are. And it won't matter. Well, I might just as well carry on and add that onto there. We can link all of the pieces together ultimately. Let's just give that a nice coat. So there we are. So let's see who else has joined. Hi, Carol. Hi, Josephine. Good evening, David. Thanking you very much for joining. Much appreciated. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing. It is one of the things that I think every company that does a live needs, because the more things that get shared, then actually it's better publicity for their brand, because each of us will have slightly different followers and that's cool. That won't really matter. So let me just paint the inside. I did do some prep, but not all. You know, I haven't prepped everything. So David hasn't watched before. He's come to us from the Only Usuals group, Art Inspirations. So I'm going to go through some of the basic housekeeping stuff just while I carry on painting away. I am one of Pentart's creatives. I have been on their design team for I think 4 years, maybe 5 years now, and I've used their products for about 10 years. So an awful long time. Pentart are chemists by background, and they produce a whole range of innovative products that then get imitated elsewhere on the market. So, but their remit is as chemists and product developers, which is lovely. So if you are watching the live while I am alive, there should be a red squoval in the top left hand side of your screen as you are watching to tell you that I'm live. If that is not there, then you are watching on replay, and if you comment #replay, I will pick that up hopefully, and then can acknowledge the fact that you've come to support Pentart and myself, because that's just a lovely thing to do. I do try and pick up all comments and respond, but during the live there's often way too many to actually keep up with. So there we are. Now the nice thing about the Reseurs is that they will dry quite quickly. I'm conscious I've got multiple layers to do tonight. So for again, Pentart have along with being product manufacturers, are also distributors of Stamperia products in parts of Europe that Stamperia don't distribute directly to, and therefore I will typically be found using Stamperia products on my lives as I showcase the Pentart materials. So that's why I've got such an experience of using the products and B working with Stamperia products. So that's all cool. Hi Teresa from welcome. Don't think I've seen you before, so welcome. I trust that all is well in Indiana. So as I say, I've got a wooden box. I've primed the outside. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, Pentart's got quite difficult to get hold of in the UK, I'm afraid. But you just grab what you can when you can. I have recently found out about an eBay company, and she has a good amount of the Pentart materials. So that's positive. So I'm less bleak about being able to get people being able to get them, which is good. I love the Pentart products, partly because they do what they say on the tin, which is always a major benefit, because not all products do what they say in the tin. The vast majority are water-based, which makes for easy clean-up, i.e. a pot of water, which is always by my side. So that's always a positive, isn't it? If you don't need something complicated for cleaning up the mess afterwards, and they'll wash out. Don't let most of these products dry on your clothes, because you might then regret that. But that's the same for most mediums, isn't it, from that point of view? There we are. So just leave that top, the top edges to be as dry as possible, because we need some painting. Yeah, and then we might end up having to do a little bit of tidy up post live around the edges, because I don't want to keep everyone here while I mask everything off with masking tape and then have to come back in. So the inside of that is now dry enough for me to turn over that piece and this bit. So let's start with the bigger bit. Let's pop that over there. So we're going to be using one of my favorite sets of products, and let me just grab, why did that make that noise? I'm going to go with red brown. Don't worry, it will not stay red brown as a dominant colour. Oh, there we are, because we'll be using one of my beloved crackles on this, so it won't stay one colour. What am I looking for? I'm looking for a nice decent sized paintbrush so that we're not here all day every day. Let's just get rid of that lumpy bit. There we are. There we are. So that's cool. So this is red clay, aka terracotta acrylic paint, and I've picked this. I'm intending to work with the Stamperia travel collection that was launched just before Christmas. Now I know that maybe it's not really a holiday season, but I went on a cruise just before Christmas. I've got lots of memorabilia to stash away somewhere safe. And also, I think many people will be planning their holidays. So actually having a box where they can put all the bits that you need to do when you're organising a holiday together as a sort of keep it all in a safe place is maybe quite a useful activity. So I like this colour because it's not too red and it's not too brown. That's might seem a bit silly to say, but it's a nice shade and it sits on the muted end of the spectrum. I think most people who follow me on a regular basis know that I am definitely not a bright sort of girl. I'm definitely much more a soft muted tones person. Doesn't mean that I don't like other people's projects that are made with nice brights. It just means that they're not for me to use. So there we are. Although on design teams you often have to work with what you give them to work with. So let's just get some of this into that wood where I can see the gaps. Again, it won't matter if we don't have 100% coverage, but you can see actually just how well that terracotta paint has covered there. Let's just cover this. We've got different plans for different surfaces tonight with, she says, lots of techniques along the way. So let's just pop this into here. Don't necessarily want that brown on the inside. It won't be a complete disaster if we do, because as I say, we can always tidy up post live before photographing. Often when you're doing a live, it doesn't necessarily work out as maybe your most superbly decorated piece, just because there is a time constraint. Though to be fair, Pentacolor are not very fussy with the amount of time we take on our lives. So let's just come, this might prove slightly a challenge. Let's just come around the edge of there. Oh, and I can pop this down. Oh, give it a little dry while we do the side of the other piece. I'm picking up green off my hands, but that's fine. So StreamYard, which is the streaming platform I'm using by Pentacolor's request, requires me to have the camera quite low to actually see, because I don't have the magnifying camera. Might get one, might make my life easier. There we are. Let's just pop that onto there. So there we are. After that, so we now have a layer on there. Let's just shuffle that. If there's a whirring noise in the background, then it is my fan heater. Good evening, Barbara. Hello, Helen. Good evening, Blanche. Now, so those who have followed me for a good while, you will know that pretty much for the whole of the last year, I have been doing a weekly live for Pentacolor, which is quite a tall order, coming up with a new project every single week. without it repeating the techniques. Now, things are going to change up for the month of February. And I have to say, I'm uber relieved about it for reasons that will become clear on next Tuesday's live. Because because the products that are going to be talked about for quite a lot of next month are ones that are very new, and whilst you can use them for crafting, that's not their primary remit. So, and I know that sounds a bit obscure, but I'm not allowed to say very much at the moment around them. So like I say, I have done some craft projects and those will get shared, but by the team at Pentat, I think, but I think they like them. But all I can say is it's exciting times for the month of February. I will have one live in February, and then on a Tuesday, which will be February the 11th, and then after that, March, I've been told we're returning to my normal weekly Facebook lives. So, and so if you watch my social media pages, you'll know what I'm up to when I'm up to. I just need to get this dry, and I might need to do some bits of touching up, and that's fine. Might need to take a, don't matter. One of the reasons I quite like vintagey style projects is that actually it gives you a lot of flexibility. You see, there you go. Oh, well, happy birthday for February, Sarah. There we are. Let's just get that dry. Right, excellent. Let's clean up that brown from there. Yeah, I don't particularly want all of that brown on there, but we'll cover that. We'll sort that out off the live. The rest of it won't matter because we're going to be adding another layer anyway. So let's just pop that there. Let's grab this one and give this a goodly blast, because why not? Here we are. But as I say, I just need to do all of these steps and layers and processes. And that's just the thing of actually doing, you know, a whole project, isn't it? It just takes you a little bit of time to do all of the layers, and there is really a limit to how many pieces you can pre-prepare. Yeah. Let's just get that down onto there, and then we can grab the next bit. There we are. And because we're layering, I'm not white either, but I haven't got a complete perfect finish there because it's not going to be the final layer anyway. You did indeed, Zaphid. Welcome. So I am going to use one of my favourite crackles. I have three favourite crackles from Pentat. The transparent crackle, the one component crackle, which is the one I'm going to use tonight. It just says crackle medium, and the fine line crackle. And they all give you a very different effect. So it's worth knowing what your products do. I can still see that that's wet because I've just put my fingers in a bit that's wet. So that you get the effect that you want on your project. Okay. All crackles are definitely not created equal, though there are several that are in effect the same product or give very similar effects. So just double check what the effect of the product of a crackle medium is before you go investing in pots, so that you know which one you're getting and that you're not doubling up with ones that you don't perhaps need another one that does something essentially the same. Yeah. Right, in a minute. So I just now need another brush. That's always good. I have to keep those at the side of me because I just don't have enough room on my table. There we are. So this is the one component crackle. Have I got a lump in it? Let's get rid of the lumpy bits. There we are. This pot is a 230ml pot. Most suppliers in the UK, I think, have the 100ml pots, and that's probably enough for your average crafter. If it's an effect that you like, and you're going to use a lot, then it might be worth investing in the bigger pots. It doesn't. Some crackle mediums will go claggy if they're not used within a reasonable time frame. This one is very well behaved and stays reasonably liquid. It's a bit like very thin runny honey is the best description I can give you of this, and you just need a layer over. Doesn't need to be thick at all. You just want, wherever you want the crackles, you need that medium. Let me just tuck that over and do the side. You see, boxes are always difficult. I don't know why I make my life difficult, because I always pick, well, that's not true. When I do the canvases, they're really easy because I'm working on a flat surface, so I don't have to move stuff about very much. But when I'm working with a box or a dimensional piece, it's much harder because you have to move things around, and that's all there is to it. So let's just pop that onto there. We'll give these a goodly blast dry. There we are. Good. So we now have the one component crackle on all of the surfaces that I need it on. What you can't see off camera is the fact that I've got about 25,000 pots in front of me just to make my life difficult. So let's just give this a little blast. Now these are heat stable mediums, but like any medium, if you're heat setting it with a heat gun, then keep the heat gun moving rather than concentrating the heat all in one place, and don't let the medium bubble because that will upset the final result for you. There we are. Let's just get that sorted. The box is sitting on the bottom, is sitting on the floor. At the moment, which is just fine. I can do the pieces on there as we go. So, you see, I've let that bubble. I've been told you not to. My bad. So that's okay. We'll cope with that. That's reasonably dry. Let's just leave that up there to dry down a bit further. And let's pick this up and give this a little blast too. There we are. So I trust that everyone is going well. I'm not in, I might be here a little while, but I won't be bumping into another well-known celebrity's time. I will be finished before then. Because that's what we might need to do. It's like waiting for paint dry. What kettles to boil? They never, they don't boil when your pots don't boil when you're watching for them, do they? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to pop that one back on the floor in front of that. We can come back to the second part of that off the live, or I can talk you through what I'm going to do with it anyway. Right, excellent. Let's just give that a little bit of a blast, because it's not quite dry at that point, and we can do the second layer on this, and then I'll leave the other bits to dry. So I have picked Nimbus, which is a very neutral, soft, pale, greeny grey. I often, when I'm doing crackles mediums, I like to have colours that are pale, and I'm tapping, and I've got a well-loaded brush. Okay, now my intention is to go around the whole of the outside, but I don't need to do that for now. Okay. Well, actually, I can do that for now. Why not? That might cause me less grief overall if I do that bit now. And you'll know where I'm heading with the whole piece. If I do that, get that all in. And this is when I won't have enough hands, but that's okay. So let me just flick that round, get that, and then you can see why I chose the pale green reserve inside. And I will tidy that up off live. So, and that is what's going to go on the whole of the brown that I've painted on the base of the box. Yeah. But rather than waiting for everything to dry as we go, we will do it this way. So you can see on camera just how that crackle is forming, instantaneously. And it's safe enough for me to heat set it, though I do suggest that you don't bubble it again, and that you do make sure it's properly dry before you go touching it. One of the risks of taking a heat gun to anything to dry is that you will end up with the top dry and the bottom not dry, and then you end up with a mucky icky mess. So as I say, I will go around the inside of that with a finer tooth. It is absolutely like magic. It is just such a well-behaved crackle medium. Right, let's just clear off this. The edges of this are all a bit mucky. It's not going to matter. I've got a very distressed rice paper anyway. But generally, when you're... I'm glad you do, David. I love crackle mediums. There are just so many of them on the market, and it's really worth knowing which ones you've got. So I have a rice paper here, and I actually want that image, so that's fine. So I'm going to use my Pentacolor Decoupage varnish and glue, and I really do suggest that if you can afford it, that you use a specialist decoupage medium, that you don't compromise and use essentially a glue. This one will dry matte, and that's cool. And it will also work to seal the rice paper in, because I'm clearly got, my box is not quite A4 in size, so I will be having to do a little bit of trimming. So a goodly layer of that. I can use this actually to seal my crackle if I want to. I don't need to seal that crackle. It will be perfectly fine without being sealed. There we are. So there we go. I don't want big globs because that's never helpful, but I do want to make sure I've got glue right out to the outside. Pop that onto there. Let's just ease this in so it's lined up reasonably straight. It's always helpful. pop that in, and I'm going to smooth that down so I've got no bubbles in there. Okay. And then a little bit of rub of your hands will absolutely help ensure that it's stuck down and minimize the chances of you having wrinkles. There we are. So we can pop this, and this is I'm just going to add another layer over the top, and as ever I am just going to go up and down. I always keep my mediums going in either vertical or horizontal. I don't tend to mix up the movements, because that way if you're using an antiquing product, you don't then end up with lots of irregular marks that then fill up with your antiquing projects and actually then make it all look a bit messy. So there we are. Wouldn't be a project for me without some molds. We haven't got a silly number tonight, but we have got a few to get through, so I will be able to pop this down and on the floor. Let me, having gone across there we are, put that brush in a pot of water, and I'm just going to stick that onto the floor so it can continue to dry underneath there. Right, so we have 4 molds tonight. For me, that's almost unheard of. Hey, that's the plan anyway. So, and would you believe it, when I looked in my stash, could I find a grey? No, I didn't have a grey. I mean, how silly is that? Anyway, I'm taking my colours from the papers that go with the collection, but of course the joy of molds is that you can paint them in any colour theme that you want. So there we are. Let's just pick up a smaller brush from there. We might not need that. So, oh dear, there we are. Let's just pick up some of that, which is country blue, and I'm just going to paint the bottom of my plane with the country blue. There we are. Back. Get rid of that piece of paper towel because I don't necessarily want that there. So lots of detail in the molds which are designed to help you with your painting. Some of it can be, the details can be brought out, of course, with antiquing products and also with waxes and varnishes. So we might do a little bit of both today. And again, I'm deliberately keeping this palette, that's a wing, which we don't want in that colour. There we are. So let's just come into here and paint the rest of the body of that. Let's just swap that to a smaller brush. There we are. You just need to have a range of brushes that will work for you. And I can tidy that up. So let's just have a little bit of detail onto the tail fin, so it's not all a single colour. There we are. Just highlight that detailing. Got white to go into here, so that's okay. But we'll let the blue dry before we do that. So let's just do this tail fin in the blue, because I want just a bit of colour. I don't want it to be completely white. There we are. Do I have a steady hand? Reasonably, but you'd be glad to know that, wouldn't you, from my past life? It'd been a bit rough if I didn't have a reasonably steady hand. I'll just pop that down. I'm just using the detail that is in the mould there to add that in. Okay. So that can sit there and have a little bit of a dry. So we've got the tram, and we could do this in several different colours. And we've got a pot and those. So let me just lid that blue for the moment. Let's just get rid of some of that excess of paint that I've got on there, because otherwise we won't see that detail. There we are. We'll pop that there to dry whilst we add some base extra layers onto here. So there we are. And we haven't got an ivory, but that's fine because we're going to do some distressing. So the windows will automatically pick up a little bit of colour from my distress medium of choice for tonight. So let me think about how I want to do this. I'm going to use a mixture of red clay and ochre for this. Okay. There we are. So let's just pick up a better brush for this, because we're not going to be spending forever on this project or on this make, because life is too short. We could spend forever. And I often will put down a base layer, and then once that's dry, we'll add extra layers over the top. So don't be surprised if you see me doing that, because that is what will work for me for this make. And then I can put back the colour when I want it with additional details. Okay. But if I get this base colour down, deals with the fiddly bits to start with, and then I can add in with a finer brush the rest of it. So let's just add in, and you'll often see me again doing this wet onto wet technique, where I mix up my colours so that I'm not having everything as a single colour in the piece. There we are. And we'll add in our details. We don't require to be uber difficult, uber complicated. We've got waxes to add in extra detail. We're not. And again, you can make this as complicated or as you choose, really. It's entirely a personal choice thing, isn't it, when it comes to things like this? So let's just add that up there. And I've chosen these colours not because I actually have a clue what colour the trams might be. I suspect these are from San Francisco, but yeah, we have trams in the UK, don't we? So we could have colours that work for where you are. But this will just add some extras, and then we will, once that base layer is dry, we can add in some details into that. There we are. Did I get I did get a green out. Got a couple of greens out. There we are. So that's just added some base layers of that. I am going to swap to a smaller brush. Suitcases on here, and I don't want them all to be the same colour. And I can't sit down to do this tonight because I have all of my products on my chair. Because I've got, I don't know, 55, well, lots and lots of these out tonight. Lots of paints because of the numbers of different areas that I wanted to cover. There we are. And I've also got the Stamperia wax and seal set in front of me, and that is quite, it's the whole set in its beautiful box means that actually it takes up a reasonable amount of room, so that's why I've got it on the chair behind me, or just to the side of me. There we are. Let's just do that one with that one, and we can change it around. So we're going sort of variations on faux leather with my thought processes for the colours of the suitcases. And of course we all know that we can get suitcases in pretty much any colour of the rainbow nowadays. So again, you do what works for you. You could personalise this to your own, you know, the colours of your own luggage. I do know that having something that stands out is really helpful on a carousel, because otherwise you can, you know, spend forever trying to find which suitcase is yours. So some form of personalisation absolutely required when it comes to brushes. Right, meeny meeny, we might need those out. We'll just temporarily lit those, and let's just pick up the earthy brown. Okay, because I think the bottom of our tram should be much darker than it is. I'll get a custom colour because it's not completely dry, and that's absolutely fine. That bit can be the same, and then we can add in a piece that goes around the bottom. The tram that holds it on its tracks. There we go. Okay, okay. Let's see if we can pick this up now without having too big a contamination issue. Let's just... There we are. So lots of different shades of brown here. I'm just thinking that they will work nicely together. They tonally fit. And so this is a dark brown. It's not black, even if it might look to be black. I'll give these a little bit of a blush dry. I need to add some white paint to my plane and onto some of the windows on there. So we'll just definitely need to give these a little bit of a blast to get them there. There we are. And of course you could pick up lots of different colours and paint each of these suitcases a different colour. But for tonight, life is too short. There we are. And it might end up looking a bit messy at this page, but it won't be long term, I can assure you. There we are. A little bit of distressing will cover a multitude of sins. There we are. And get into all of those nooks and the crannies as we go. Well, yeah, that's looking quite nice. Let's just pop that onto there. That looks a bit rusty. That's absolutely fine. Let's just pick up that brown and just do this pot in a composite colour. There's actually like a stalk there. So let's just do that. There we are. Hopefully that will work for those. Let's just give some of these brushes a little bit of a clean. They certainly, I think they still do actually, that run along the front. I think they've been given an upgrade recently. Okay. Right. Let's just pull these over here. Give these a bit of a dry. Or not, as the case may be. Let's just stick that on there. Sorry if it's a bit noisy. If it's too noisy, just let me know. And I have a khaki green here that I'm just literally going to do all of these leaves with whilst that dries. So I'm using the matte acrylics. I don't because I prefer a matte finish, but again you could use whichever acrylics you want really. The matte ones dry beautifully. These pots have been with me for quite a while now, and they're going strong. They're 50ml pots. You can get 20ml pots, tubes with a little nozzle applicator. So if you want lots of colours, then that's quite an economical way of building up your overall numbers. There we are. Okay, so let's just pop that in there. We need to get these to dry. I don't dare add too much without some of these being dried. And I definitely want to add in some white into these. Let's pick up a nice, she says, a nice brush. Which might be easier said than done when it comes to my brushes, but I hope that one will work. So I'm using rounds, but it doesn't really matter which ones you do use. There we are. And I'll bring out the metallic details on here, ultimately, with some silver metallic wax. Okay. Let's just pop this onto here. I did spray my acrylic paint with some water because it was very thick the other day, and that's the advantage of it being a water-based product. So you can do that. You don't just, unlike me, just need to make sure it's been mixed in properly, which I haven't done. And I'm going to need to come back over that with a bit more of that glue, and that's fine. There we are. We'll just tidy that up in a minute. Let's just pick up a little brush that has the glue on. And let's just have a little neaten of that whilst the going is good. Not bad, not bad. Could it be the best painting in the world? Possibly not. But hey ho, it will do, it will do. Right, we can now pick up that brush. Let's just go through these windows. They'll soften in colour as I do that. So let's just leave that heat gun there. And let's just add in. It won't stay this bright white long term. But that's fine. It's easier then because I've got ledges on here, it's just easier to have painted over everything make sure I get then get the sides of the bits that need to be coloured in the bright colour coloured, and then I can paint back in the details for the windows. So that's the rationale behind what I'm doing. There we are. So we can just pop in the details into here. Use a finer brush if you want to than the one I've got, but that's also okay. Let's just pop these side windows in, she says, with a brush that really isn't the best in the world. There we are. There we are. Excellent. Let's lid that white paper. What on earth's going on here? Well, that happens not infrequently, my darling. But you have to prove neglect before suing, and that is a hard one to prove, I'm afraid. Right, that's dry, that's dry, that's dry, that's not dry. Let's see whilst these are having a dry. The only problem with doing a project like this is it just takes me, it just takes a while to get there. It just does take a while to get there. Now I know that I don't have the patience or ability on a live to paint in all of that detail on there with on those words on there, but we'll have a go. Some of them will lift up with some. We'll see if we can manage it. She said, famous last words that'll be, but we will have a go because I know what I'm like when it comes to things. So let's see if we can identify the words that are on here with a little bit of black paint. So I've deliberately got that on a sponge because I can then, you see, I've got it where I don't want it, but that's fine. There we are. That's not bad. Let's just pop that onto there. And I'll add a little bit deliberately, having got it on, just make it work for you. Yeah. Make it look like it's old and a bit neglected, as if it might have seen a bit of work. Yeah. There we are. We'll just add some old texture because, let's face it, what tram is ever going to be entirely perfect? There we are. There we are. That's allowing me to bring out the detail without necessarily reverting to waxes. Some of that I can cover up. There we are. So we've now got a tram that looks like it's old, well loved, utilised. Yeah. As opposed to one that looks like it might just have come out of the showroom. Because they never do they? There we are. So that brush is on, and I can tidy. I will be tidying that up a little bit more, but that's fine. There we are. Pop that on there. Let's just give these another good blast, and then we can add. Sarah, the reason they're not asking until most people now will have had HPV vaccines, so they shouldn't be getting cervical cancer because they're relatively protected by having that. So, you know, you have to ask what are the risks and what are the issues. Nothing is ever 100%, but because you can now vaccinate against HPV, then actually that is has significantly reduced the risk. And my daughter, who is now 29, is 25, was one of the first cohort to be offered the HPV vaccines at school. So hopefully the incidence of HPV, of cervical cancer will start to fall because of the availability of vaccination. Right, okay, let's just clear some of this paint out the way because it's all a bit of a pickle with too much stuff likely to go flying around. And what makes all the difference, David? Which bit of it made all the difference? We've got a few steps to go yet. I'm just deliberately looking for a not very nice paintbrush at the moment because I'm going to grab some varnish. Oh, that's not a very... There we are. And I'm going to seal these in before distressing them further. I missed the step that which you said made a big difference to what I was doing. They will look. This is about understanding your products, your techniques, and what to do. This is literally just a varnish, okay? And it's going to seal in these paints for me. I don't want big globs on here, and help protect the layers when I come to the next steps. If that makes sense. The dirty tram, yeah. Well, since when do public transport ever look pristine? Yeah, certainly not in the UK. Though I do believe that the buses do get a wash, but you know. Right, are we dry? Yeah, we don't want to have too much wet onto there. There we are. So that people who've watched me do my lives before will know that these are steps that I use very, very frequently when I'm making my projects. If you're going to do something, then to my mind, you might as well have a quality make that will survive long term rather than come to grief because you haven't taken the time to prepare all of the pieces and seal everything in. Yeah, it just does work, doesn't it? It just does work. And you know, you can do that in lots of different ways. This is a matte varnish again because I think old and crusty doesn't need to have so much of that. I might just want a little bit. Where's that black on there? There we are. Let's just distress some of that onto that edge and then not add the varnish over that bit. So you'll find that I quite often will use combinations of dry brushing, antiquing product, deliberately choosing antiquing products. I use lots of antiquing products in different formats, forms and guises on my makes, just to build the layers and the details and bring out all the details. Stamperia put an amazing amount of detail into their molds. So to me, it's worth just taking that extra bit of time to do, to add all of those features back in, because they tend to get lost if you just do have just a single flat colour. Because for me, those windows are still too white. You're getting there, lady. Thank you, Betty, my darling. It's always appreciated when you pop in. It's never possible. It's just not possible with the numbers of lives that are going out for everyone to watch everything. at any point, let alone when they go out live. It's just not possible. Thank you, darling. There we are. Let's just give these, just need my matte diplomas to dry. Oh dear, Sarah. Things do need to be washed from a point of view of being hygienic, I think. I think it's difficult enough. And then our daughter, who is definitely, or it has autism, isn't it? Yeah, so she finds things quite difficult. Won't travel by public transport. It just provokes profound anxiety attacks. And the numbers of times we'd have to go and rescue her when she's got off the bus in the middle of nowhere. It's untrue. So we've abandoned doing that. And she now has a little family car just to make life better for us and it easier for her. Just need this to be dry. So let me just, whilst that is doing that, let me also pick up this, because this also needs a dry and a trim. So we'll just do our pieces as we can. See, there's an amazing amount of detail in that tram, but none of that tram is actually going to be visible. So I've chosen colours that I think complement the overall paper that I've chosen. Oh, sorry about that. She says, swapping the things. I'll just give that a bit of a dry. The edges should now be dry enough. Let's just turn that over. Yeah, I think the edges are dry enough for now. Well, did I want a teaspoon? No, I don't want a teaspoon. Wooden spoons are useful for crafting. So let's just take off the excess. Sorry if this is popped up whilst the rest of these pieces are drying. There we are. Some bits of this are still a bit tacky. Some of this is still a bit tacky. So generally, please wait for it not to be tacky before you do what I'm doing. It won't matter overall because we can fix that. There we are. That can now go back on the floor. That piece can go working over there. These are still a bit wet. You see, doing a live is about like, it's like juggling 55,000 pieces. Excellent. These need to dry a bit more. This needs to be dry a bit more. Yeah. Good evening, Guinness. We've got lots of bits at various stages of drying at the moment, so that's where we're up to. I just need to get that properly dried. Let's lift those paints out of the way. It is getting there. So I've still got slight wetness here on that box. Hey ho. We are getting there. I'd quite like to get the numbers onto this that I did earlier, because it is like an ooh aha moment, isn't it, whenever I do the crackle. And it will make a difference to the finished piece. Honestly, it will. There we are. We are getting there, though. It has to be said. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what she says. No, she's not gonna. I'm just gonna change my. Hi, Deirdre. Welcome, my darling. Thank you for joining us. Let's just finish this. Let's just grab. So I know that I will paint around the edge of the book box, these bits off the live, but let's just add this crackle onto here again, so that you can see what we're doing. There we are. And because it's just a wow, isn't it, when you do that? So you can paint this step on. I tend to dab because you get a more random crackle, but do what works for you. And if you put thicker layers on, you'll get a thicker crackle. There's no question about it. Don't overwork where you've been, because you'll lift off the crackle if you do that. And it will crackle in front of us because it's already beginning to crackle. Nice good layer of this on here. There we are. And I will paint the sides with probably with the nimbus rather than anything else, and we'll antique them for completeness. But if I do this, we'll be able to have at least the outside reasonably finished. The key is absolutely loading your dabber or your brush with it when you're doing this, though. There we are. So yeah, you see, just look at that crackle. It just works. Right, so that can go back on the floor. Some of the other pieces might then vaguely be dry. I can de-yuck my hands. So we have one more embellishment that needs making. These need finishing. I'm aware of that. So, let me just bring it over. There we are. So Lovely Stamperia have brought out a wax and seals collection. Yeah, there's lots of them on the market. It comes with, I've added to it, a set of those, a bottom plate, a heater, a spoon, a handle, and 12 extra plates. So quite a lot of extra products, and you just need to supply a tea light. I'm not convinced that tea light is going to work very well, but hey ho. And you get things like this when you use them. So, but none of those seals are designed to work. There are some generic ones. Let's just pop this on here, and then it can start to melt. Let's see if that's going to burn. Are you going to burn? Aha! Excellent. It's always good. Now you know what the lighter's for. Absolutely. And a nice little spoon. 1, 2, 3. Let's just add some gold. So lots of different colours in here. You need 4 or 5. I'm going to add 6. There we are. So lots of those, and they can just sit there and melt for me. We won't actually be using that bit, but that's fine. Yeah, that is still there. So let's just take these pieces. And they're still a bit tacky, but hey ho. Oh, let's go for it. Do let them go properly dry. So this is Umbra Patina. Again, it's a product that you will see me use lots and lots of times. It's an oil-based product. There are water-based alternatives that you can use. And I'm just going to paint this all over. There we are. So it adds a murky, yucky brown colour to it all. And then let's just pick up a, she says, a clean baby wipe. Well, do we have a clean baby wipe? Of course we don't have a clean baby wipe. There we are. So we'll just then wipe this off, and the windows will definitely then not be shiny white, because okay, and no matter what you do, you'll never ever lift all of those colours off. The alternatives are the antiquing gels from Pentart if you want the water-based ones, and it's a Pentart live, so I'm not going to mention other companies' products here, but if you watch my lives off here, then you'll often see me talking about other things. But out of respect for Pentart, I'm going to do that on here. But yeah, lots of options. Good evening, B. There we are. So let's just take that off there. So that will just add age to these pieces, and my plane will not stay white. Okay. Whenever you use the antiquing, the Umbra, there's a gold version, there's a copper version, but whenever you use Umbra, you will darken and change the shade of your project. So you just need to be aware of that, and it almost softens and mutes the colours down, and that's going to go back into a pot of things. So if I just lift this off, you can see suddenly I've got much more detail added in. There we are, just by that little bit, and it's just a bit of magic that is slowly melting. There we are. Let's just tap some of that excess off that one, pop that into there, pop that into there. And remember, it is an oil-based product, so you do need to be moderately sensible about how you dispose of them. Don't necessarily want me alcohol-based wipe, but actually the alcohol-based wipe is going to wipe the mess up really nicely. There we are. There we are. So I can pop that there. And the alcohol-based wipe will get rid of the worst off my hands, which is also a major blessing, because it goes every which way. So I have on my desk some gold wax paste and some silver wax paste. Okay, so the silver wax paste I'm just going to use to add some detail. Onto the bits of my plane that I think would be more metallic. So you can use these over the top of your mediums. Yeah. There we are. So it just makes it that little bit more special. All of these layers all count. Don't need the silver now, but we've got gold metalwork and some words on the tops of our cases. So that one says adventure, and you just see how just that little adding that extra bit, can't read what that one says, but it brings out the locks and the handles on there. It's another word, I think that says explore on that one. Explore, discover, adventure. There we are. It just brings out lots of detail on these. So let's just lighten up some of those on there and bring out the texture in that pot. So it's a combination of not very neat painting, getting coverage down, making sure it's varnished, and then adding in the antiquing fluids, whichever is your medium of choice, and then to bring out the depth, and then either dry brushing white or metallics, or as I did on the tram, using the black to do that. Okay. So I have a silicone mat. It's a well-loved silicone mat. Let me just put that over there. Okay. And we've got a little bit to do. So these are intended to be, ooh, she says, used with the handles that it comes with, and I'll just move that over there, and those metal dies. But that works out. I'm assuming that Pentart are going to, the Stamperia will bring out more of them, but I think we've probably all got stamps in our collection. Okay. And I'm just going to take and ink really well that stamp. And pop that to the side. And I have a plastic tool here. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of a mix. No, I get that. So I was just going to pour that wax onto my mat. Okay. And whilst it is wet, I can now squash my stamp into it. These are polymer stamps. You could do this with any of your red rubber stamps. Well, no problem, David. That's the whole purpose of doing these, is to do that. And we just need that to cool down. Once it's cooled, it will peel off. So I've got a beautiful impression from that stamp in there. Okay. So theoretically, you could do words. I think there's a map on that. I've got one already with the train. So now you can get out your stamps. I'm sure maybe it's the Arctic. Anyway, some form of land mass of some description. There we are. So I just thought, it'd be helpful to see. And that has the train. There we are. So you can take your stamps on a mat and your waxes. Yeah. And custom make your own embellishments using that. These pieces can all go back in here. You only really need to clean it out thoroughly if you are going to change the colour completely. So let me get rid of that. Let's pop that over there. Let's put that, which is warm, and the spoon is quite hot, in a safe place, so I don't burn myself with it. Okay, so I just wanted people to know that you can make your own custom embellishments, and then she says throwing stuff around quite happily. So remember, right back at the beginning, we did a project. Now look at the state of my hands, honestly. Let's just get it. No, Sarah, it absolutely does not. You need to have polymer stamps, not acrylic ones, so not the cheap ones. Okay, most companies in the UK now, I think, are using proper polymer rather than acrylic, and it's absolutely completely fine to use your polymer stamps in hot material. I wouldn't put direct heat on it, but like that, absolutely no problem. That stamp, if I grab it, is completely intact. It's not come to any harm whatsoever from that treatment. Okay, so I just think it was just worth making sure people knew that that's what they could do. She says she's got stuff everywhere. Let's just put that up there safely and out the way. Yeah, I've still got a bit of wet on there. I was clearly very generous with that. And we have some bits from the paper cuts. And remember that Sampieria collections have all of these products designed to work and layer together. Now, the issue with the paper cuts is that they're white on the edges. And as we all know, I'm a bit allergic to white. So let's just grab some brown ink whilst the going is good. Let's get rid of that little pop out bit. They're nicely die cut. In fact, in the pop out pads themselves, they almost look crude, but by the time you take off the edging, as you pop them out, actually they become really nice, and you don't end up with a nasty naff white border with them, which is also always an added bonus. Because you either have to have an even white border all the way around, and you don't have what I call a shadow. I've managed to lose a word. I had another word. Oh, well, it'll appear. It will appear. So let's just use, and they're so as you can see, they're double-sided, so you can have your imagery going in any which direction. I did have another word. That will irritate me, but we will find one. And I would no doubt will be able to find it after the live, because it will have tucked into something along the way. Right, let us have a little bit of an assembly activity, because that's half the fun, isn't it? Of saying, again, if I think you probably could, Carol. I think the bigger problem might be you'd need a die with it debossed details in them, I think, to get the benefit of it. And the little spoon really doesn't hold a huge amount of wax. So I think you might just find that you needed a bit more coverage. So there we are. So that's the plan. That is going to go over there to hide deliberately the tram that is on there. Oh. And we're back to the usual shenanigans of blocked glues. We'll go back to my usual trick of pushing the plug out rather than it being stuck in to the piece. Hopefully that will now be through. You just need to be careful when you do this, that you don't injure your fingers. Because that's not you go. Thank you. So I think the biggest issue will be the amount that you might need, because you need a depth to pull it into. Okay, so we're going to have a little lamppost there, because why not? Oh, we're missing 2 die cuts. Hey ho, we'll have a little look and find some others. There's a whole pad of them lurking over there. There we are. And we're going to add that one there. There we are. And then we're going to pop those 2 there. So, but for that, I need a gel medium. Okay, so I wouldn't trust sticking the plastic, the wax down with without having a gel medium underneath it. Okay, right. Well, I didn't clearly didn't cast this very nicely because we've got a big glob of stuff underneath there. Let's just make sure we've got enough into there. And that's my bad casting as much as anything else. So let's just tuck that into there because that works there. I definitely had another word and I had a little flower pot, and it's now going to irritate me because why wouldn't it irritate me when you know what you want? Let's see what's left in here we can pick up instead. Don't know that I want the tickets. See, lots of choices, but not actually conveniently lots of flower pots, and I definitely don't want those. So that's all that comes in with the collection. Over the Sea of Clouds. I don't want that either. So we'll just go with what we've got in front of us. We've got holidays. Holidays might work. Yeah, because I said it was a box for putting stuff in, didn't I? There we are. So let's just pop this onto here. Okie dokie. So let's just have our aeroplane flying high above the houses. There we are. Let's just pop that word into there. We might only put one word on, seeing as we've not got that. So we've got life experiences onto there, because that seems appropriate, doesn't it? There we are. We're going to cover that area with that. We're going to take our little cat and put our cat under there as well. There we are, because that to me sort of works. And I'm going to leave that word off. So let me just pop that over there. Oh dear, let's just flatten that down over there. Okay, let's pop that there, pop that over there, stick that there. Now I can't now pick that up, but I want to put some rub-ons on the side of there. So I'm going to leave that as our box lid. Yeah, it all comes together nicely. And here is the box base, which is now nicely crackled. It's going to be that way. So I'm just going to orientate myself. And let's just add some extra words. I'm going to put a set of words onto the side of the top. And I'm rather assuming that each set of these words, A, doesn't see anything rude, and B, makes sense. It's in French, so it means nothing to me because I don't understand a word of French. Well, I can say good day, good evening, goodbye. I can be polite, because that's always helpful, isn't it, to be polite? So let's just pop that approximately straight onto there. And rub-ons only work on surfaces that are completely dry. So we might have caused myself grief here. There we are. These rub-ons from Stamperia are incredibly well behaved. I remember the ones in the 80s and 90s, and they were a living nightmare. There we are. And I'm intending displaying this standing up. Okay. So for me, it doesn't really matter, but we've got some extra bits that will go onto here. I'll pop that one onto the top of there. And if you think your surface is wet, and that's why it's not lifting nicely or coming off, just leave it in place. Let it all dry overnight, and then the top will come off, I can assure you. So that is definitely not lifting nicely on there. And I can feel that this is wet. Yeah, it's not. So the glue. So I'm going to leave that on there and not push my luck. I will get it off. But if you see, it's lifting the whole thing because the paint underneath is still wet. So that's a very, very useful lesson. So I'm not going to pop any more rub-ons onto there. I should just be grateful that I got away with it for that one. I will put some more on later on. That will irritate me, and I might need to glue it down, but that's fine. So let's just clear this mess for tonight. I might put some rub-ons on the inside of the box lid ultimately. So I will pop this together. I've got my nice box. I will put another rub-on down the side of there. I'm just going to get rid of that excess glue, because that will cause me grief if I don't. There we are. I'm not going to add any splatters. We'll pop that down. There we are. Okay. So we now have our box. There we are. With our little cat, our travel embellishments, our wax seal that we've done with a stamp rather than with the tools that come with it. You could, I think, impress anything into the wax, if we're honest, as long as you know that it's not going to melt. So, always vaguely straight. So there we are, my darlings. That is my live for tonight. A travel box to fill with all of the paraphernalia that we all know we need to collect before we go on holiday, or to stash the stuff in that when we come back. I wish I had your skills, Carol. I'm definitely not multilingual in any shape or form. So I hope that's been a useful activity. Talk through the wax seals, the one component crackle, and the different ways of antiquing. David, if you're still watching, I'm glad that you have enjoyed and hopefully been inspired to look up the products that I've used and get them out and use them, because if you spent your hard-earned cash buying them, you might as well get the most out of them rather than them sitting unloved in your stash. So for now, that is all. Remember, I am not live next Tuesday. I will be live on the 11th, but Penta has some very, very exciting things to talk about for the next few weeks. And so they're committing to doing that. And I'm not yet an expert on what they're going to be talking about. I'd have some skills with it, but I definitely don't want to be doing multiple projects with the same things. So please take care Look after yourselves. Our intention is to be live on Crafting Together with All Bands on Friday. I might not be live at my regular time on Sunday because it's a joint birthday lunch. I may well go live a bit later on in the day, maybe 5 o'clock, but I'll post on my social media pages, which is my name, so that's easy enough to remember nearer the time. So bye-bye for now. Take care and be kind.